Our next unit is on the 1920s. So World War I is done, and some other kind of random events of the 1920s that are worth noting but don't really fall into a theme. Iron lungs needed to be used because many people were devastated by a disease that is mostly eradicated today. It's called polio, and this would kind of paralyze people's bodies. So Franklin Roosevelt, for instance, he suffered from polio in 1921. He didn't die, but because of the polio that he was struck with, he lost the ability to use his legs. um, in really bad situations, if the person didn't die, they would have to be in a contraption like this called an iron lung, which would change the pressure, allowing you to breathe. So it's kind of hard to make out, but it's little tubes, and the person's entire body is in that tube, and their head is sticking out, and they have to be in this contraption to allow themselves to breathe. Some people can be out of an iron lung for short periods of time, but yeah, polio, a really bad disease. Thankfully, a cure was found, or a way of preventing it. Another kind of strange trend in the 1920s was the belief that fresh air was so important, so good for babies, that if you lived in one of these crowded cities, people would get cages that they would attach to the outsides of their apartment buildings. So here, I mean, imagine if someone did this today. I think the police would come for endangering your child. So this is a young child, many stories up, just getting some fresh air, and here's another one. Another picture. Another kind of noteworthy individual of the 1920s would be Harry Houdini, the famed magician, illusionist, escape artist, whatever you want to call him. During one of his shows, though, he had a ruptured appendix, and he continued on with the show, and so he died. But he was well known for, doing crazy things. This is one where he was in front of a whole crowd out in the street, hanging upside down from a crane, and his feet were tied, his arms were bound, he was in a straitjacket, and he was able to escape right in front of them. Another interesting event of the 1920s was the Harlem Renaissance. This was an important artistic movement in the 1920s that was led by black artists. This was musicians, poets, painters, authors. It was kind of a black-led movement in the region of Harlem, and it helped to kind of the goal was let's take pride in who we are, not feel bad. Let's change the identity that we have been given. Steamboat Willie, Mickey Mouse. The film Steamboat Willie in 1928 introduced the world to both Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. And if you've seen recent Disney movies, they'll oftentimes have Mickey there in the scene from Steamboat Willie where he's whistling right before a film. Also, the Empire State Building, the 103-story skyscraper, began construction at the very end of the 1920s and finished in a crazy fast time, just in 2 years. Here's some pictures of workers with these massive skyscrapers. I couldn't possibly do that. That's terrifying. All right, so let's get to the heart of the unit. The Roaring Twenties is the common nickname for this time period, that and the Jazz Age. And so let me explain both of those nicknames. So first of all, the Roaring Twenties, people nickname it the Roaring Twenties because people wanted to enjoy life. They just got done with the hardships, the suffering, the rationing, and everyone growing a garden and don't waste anything and be paranoid all the time about the war. They said, you know what? We've done that for a while, and we want to just enjoy life. We want to lay back and have a roaring good time. And so kind of it's a term used to describe the, kind of people abandoning inhibitions. It's also a time of incredible economic boom, and because of that economic boom, people had many more luxuries in their lives. And because they were buying those luxuries, there was the economic boom continued, which allowed them to get even more luxuries. And it was kind of this cycle. So this is in contrast to the many people who sacrificed a lot in World War One. Some people call it the Jazz Age because jazz was the kind of horrible, corrupting music of this time period that so many young people loved, and it was seen as kind of a corrupting influence, which is ironic because today I think many people consider it to be a very classy, sophisticated genre of music. Regardless, there was an enormous boom in the economy, and everyone wanted in on the wealth that was being created. So businesses were booming as the demand grew, and more ordinary people, it wasn't just the Andrew Carnegies anymore who were making fortunes. Regular, everyday people were investing heavily in stocks. So stocks is one of the two big things that people got involved in investing. So stocks. And the other thing was land speculation. And speculation means I think this piece of land is going to be worth more money when we're talking about land speculation. Speculating is just to try to think. I wonder. That would be kind of a speculation. Well, this is reckless speculation. People were buying anything because everyone seemed to be making money. And so you had people buying swampland that was advertised as kind of, ooh, this is exclusive resort land in exotic Florida. Many people didn't even investigate the land. They'd buy land that was hundreds or even thousands of miles away just because they saw a poster that said, go ahead, you're going to make a fortune if you get this. So some people were conned. So there's nothing wrong with investing in land and stocks, but when you do it recklessly and with just the desire to get money, when you're consumed by greed, it causes you to do silly, foolish, reckless things. Another thing worth noting from this time period is the Kellogg-Briand Pact. This was an international agreement that very idealistically said war is now illegal. No, you can't make war anymore. Countries of the world, you're not allowed to. And again, this makes a lot of sense. Many people viewed World War I, hopefully you remember this, as the war to end all wars. That was the end of war. So it was bad, but the one redeeming thing is that at least we'll never ever fight another war. And the Kellogg-Briand Pact kind of sealed this. Like now we won't sin anymore through the outlet of war, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I mean we can still strive for peace, but this is just kind of an outrage. Let's pass a law that says no one can murder anymore and no one can steal. And wow, we've fixed society. It doesn't work that way. But I now want to focus more on that economic boom, and so we're going to kind of pause what would maybe be a traditional history class and look at what was going on, why people were making tons of money, and why they would want to do this whole buying of stocks and land. So when you have money, let's say this is me, and this is my wallet. I'm opening it up, and you can see all the green wads of cash. Yay! What am I going to do with that land? Or that money, I mean. Well, many people today, well, they spend it, but whatever they don't spend, if they want to try to make money, many people put it in the bank. Some people bypass the bank and say, no, I want to invest in a company here. So this would be, whoa, what happened there? That would be a company. Here, this is real estate. And this would be just people, individuals. All right, so I have only a few choices, a few options available to me. Most people, like I said, just put their money in the bank if they have any saved. Uh, a smaller portion of people invest directly in companies. Maybe you have some stock in Apple or Microsoft or Walmart or McDonald's or something like that. Even fewer people, though, get involved in land speculation, and this could be the kind of the speculation that we were talking about over here, where you just buy kind of random land, but not randomly. You expect maybe the city of Chicago to expand to the west, and so I'm going to buy land that's relatively inexpensive and not sought after right now. Why? Because I am speculating that the city of Chicago will continue to sprawl outward, and specifically in the westward direction. So I'm going to buy some land that's low in price right now in anticipation that it's going to be worth something more. I would say more people today get involved in real estate, which is kind of a different type of land speculation. I believe that this will be a good area to have rental units, either houses or apartments, and so they invest in that way. But most people invest in land, or they invest in some company by buying stocks for that company. But the vast majority of people put in the bank. Well, what does the bank do with that? They pay you interest. You get a little bit of money. Why? Why would the bank pay you when they are providing a service? They're providing security and safety. Well, it's because they do the kind of exact same things. The bank, when they take the money, they are able to pay an interest because they are making money by investing in stocks, and most invested in companies by buying stocks. Most most of the time, in general, on average, companies grow in their value, and so the stocks will give a positive return year after year. Now there are times like what we're going through right now in March of 2020, where the stock market has taken a really heavy hit. But that's kind of the outlier. That's the unusual thing. But that's one path. Many banks also will give loans, and it's a big portion of what they do. They give a loan to buy something. Ordinary people are given these loans. So maybe I want to start a coffee shop like the people at Steam Anchor did. They most likely didn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever it cost to start that business. They had to get a loan. I'm guessing. I don't know that for certain. Most businesses, though, when they get started, start by getting a loan from a bank. And you have to come up with a plan and go to the bank and say, hey, I need $150,000, and here's why you should loan it to me. And they evaluate your plan and say, no, we don't think your plan is good, or we don't trust you, and you don't get it. Or they say, yes, you seem like someone who could pull this thing off. We like your plan. We recognize, yes, we agree there is a need for a laundromat in Fulton, or a restaurant, or a coffee shop. And so they give you the loan. Others will get loans not to start a business, but to buy a house. That's a very common one. Very few people, if they're looking to buy a house, buy it in cash. They make a down payment. Maybe they pay 20% of what the house costs, but the other 80% they have to borrow from the bank. That's called a mortgage. And so the banks, again, they will look at your income and say, yeah, we think you can pay off this loan if we loan out this money. And the final big category, I would say, is buying a car. Many people will not have cash even to buy a car, which is substantially less expensive compared to a house. But yeah, people get loans all the time. I'm going to buy a $15,000 car. I don't have the money for that, so I need to get a loan. So this is what happens to our money. You either directly invest in a company today, or you directly own some land in some way, or you put it in the bank. But what does the bank do with it? They loan it out, either to a business like Microsoft or Apple, or they loaned it out to a person to buy a house, to start a business, or to buy a car. The point is that virtually all money is being loaned, and unless you stuff your money in a cookie jar in the freezer or in your mattress or dig a hole in the yard, your money is being loaned. Why is that important? Well, when everyone gets involved in the stock market or in buying land, and they're doing it very recklessly, they're not looking at the company and saying, okay, does this company seem like they provide a valuable service, that they will be around, that they will continue to make money? People weren't asking those questions. They were just buying any company whatsoever. People were buying any piece of land they could find. And so the prices of these companies and land was dramatically increasing. And it shouldn't have been, because many of the pieces of land and many of the companies weren't worth what people were paying. And the only reason people continued paying those high, overpriced prices is because everyone else was doing it, and the price just kept increasing. So here's kind of an object lesson I want to make. Let me quickly cover this. These are companies that most people in the United States, at least older people, would recognize. Microsoft, Apple, Nabisco, Kraft, Walmart, ExxonMobil, Verizon, Kodak, Best Buy, Pepsi, Blockbuster. These were all huge companies. Many of them still are, but not all. And this is the point I want to make. Just because you have name recognition, just because you dominate a market like Kodak did, like Best Buy did, like Blockbuster did, well, these companies these three are kind of on the way out. Blockbuster has lost its share to the online streaming services of Netflix and Hulu and now Disney Plus, and even smaller competitors like a Redbox. Best Buy, they are being replaced by online businesses. I can get all of my electronics that I could get at Best Buy at a fraction of the cost because they don't have to pay for a big store, a big box store. Kodak, they passed up an opportunity with digital cameras. They thought rolled film was the way to go, that was going to remain to the future of photography, and that just isn't accurate. But the same could be said for probably any of these. What if we have something that replaces the technology that we currently have? What if it becomes obsolete in some way? What if we don't need computers and Microsoft and Apple can't adapt fast enough? They could be gone. Nabisco and Kraft are reasonably, these are food services. So this is tech. Nabisco and Kraft are food. Microsoft and Apple are in the tech industry. You could consider Verizon also to be in the tech industry. It's the cell phone company. ExxonMobil is oil. Walmart is in retail. It's not just food or clothes. They are a retail store. And Pepsi is predominantly just a drink. Many different beverage options there. But any of these, if Best Buy failed because they were a big box store, what if, for instance, Amazon replaces Walmart? Well, Walmart is kind of seeing that, and they want to avoid that, so they are creating an online presence. ExxonMobil, what would happen if we find some alternative to fossil fuels? If we don't need the petroleum that ExxonMobil has, if everyone switches to an electric car, that could be disastrous for ExxonMobil, one of the biggest companies in the world. What if there's some replacement for cell phones? They become obsolete. Again, it's hard to imagine some food not being necessary, but there could be some replacement, or maybe just they make a number of botched moves, and some giant appears suddenly in the food industry and destroys them both. You don't know. So this is why they say these are some important investing lessons. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't do it. What they mean is, what if you invested completely in Microsoft? Well, maybe they're doing fine now, but so was Kodak, so was Best Buy, so was Blockbuster. If you put all of your eggs, all of your investment money in Blockbuster, and Blockbuster fails, then you've lost your life savings. You've lost all your money. So don't do that. You could put some in Microsoft, some in Apple, some in Nabisco, and so on. An easier way to do that, though, they created something called a mutual fund. It's a fund that has a bunch of different companies. Mutual, meaning like multiple people. We are mutually agreed to sell our companies through this fund. So that's one of the most important lessons. Do not buy just one company. Don't put all your eggs in one. And they'll even say, don't just invest in the tech industry. What if you invest in a bunch of, I'm going to Sun Microsystems and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and Apple and Microsoft and a bunch of cell phone companies. Well, what if something completely destroys the entire tech industry, or the whole tech industry moves in some dramatic way? That could be the end. What if I'm going to invest in Dr. Pepper and Pepsi and Coca-Cola and Monster and Snapple and a bunch of different drink companies? Well, everyone loves these specialty drinks. And what if some scientific finding shows that they cause cancer? Or what if the government outlaws it? The city of New York actually banned drinks beyond, it was like 16 ounces for a while. What if there's some regulation that makes your product or what you've invested in illegal, or that people turn away from it? So do not put all your eggs in one basket. This doesn't just mean one company. This even means one entire type of company. All right, another important investing lesson. You should buy stocks for the long term. And people will disagree over what this number should be, but the general principle is, if you need the money soon, don't put it in stocks, because the stock market, while it does grow in general over the long term, it's not a guarantee. And in the short term, like what if I'm a junior or even a senior and I decided to buy stocks in the fall for college the next year? Well, stocks have lost about 1/3, last I checked, 1/3 of their value. That's a lot of money to lose. And if you have to sell immediately to pay for college or whatever it is, then you are in a pickle. Which brings me to the third point. Okay, I've lost about 1/3 of all of my retirement accounts. Well, I haven't lost it, though. That's the thing. Your gains, the stock growth, or your losses, the stock drops, do not matter until you actually sell. So let me jump ahead to this stock sheet. These are actual numbers that I used using my retirement account. So 2017, I bought $10,000 worth of stocks on December 31st. It was priced at about $17.78 a share that day. So that means, let me bring up my calculator. All right, so I invested $10,000 divided by the price of $17.78. Whoops, off the screen. There we go. $10,000 divided by the price of $17.78 per share. That means I had 562.4 shares or stocks. Those can be used interchangeably. So I had that many shares. This is locked in. That's why it has the check mark here. The question mark is, like, I can invest a variable amount. The price of the stock can change, but I am going to, if I don't buy any more shares, what is my entire retirement account worth? So the day I bought it, it was still worth $10,000. Let's move forward 1 week. January 8th, the price dropped almost an entire dollar. It dropped to $16.80 per share. So this is locked in. This isn't going to change. I still own 562.429, etc. shares. But now I'm not multiplying by $17.78. I'm multiplying by about $1 less. So when I multiply that by 1680, whoops, that would be really nice. If I multiply these 562 shares by $16.80, I would now have $9,448. So I lost about $500 in 1 week. But I didn't really lose because, again, gains and losses do not matter until the day that you sell. So there's really only 2 days that sort of matter. The day that you buy and what that cost is. So here it was $17.78, and then the day that you sell. If I was to sell on January 8th, I would have actually lost $552 roughly in 1 week, which is pretty bad. All right, then we move about a month from then. The price dropped almost another $1. And so that meant that the $10,000 I initially invested was now worth less than $9,000, just a hair less. So I lost $1,000 in a little over a month. Then moving about a month again, the price shot back up to $17.70. So I still, again, own the exact same number of shares, but now I almost, not quite, but almost recovered and returned to where I was in December. All right, if we go back to March of 2018 now, so about 1 year later, the price skyrocketed from $17.70 up to $22.77. So that's about a $5 jump. So that meant that my initial $10,000 investment up here was now worth almost $13,000. I made $3,000 of profit, just about. But did I? No, I didn't, because your gains and losses do not matter until you sell. Then if we jump ahead about another year, April 17, so this is about 1 year ago, the price went up, about 30 cents to $23.07. So now, again, a bit closer to the $3,000 of profit gain. But now, I want to bring up what is the current price. So I invest in the Vanguard Target Retirement Fund for the year 2045. So let's see what it is currently valued at today. And today is March 31st. Okay. So it is currently at $19.99, which is up from yesterday, 44 cents. So I'll put in 1999. Oops. 1999. So March 31. This is the year 2020. I still have the same number of shares, 562.4 shares. The current price is now $19.99, and that will change by the end of the day, by the way, or most likely is going to change. So let's see what I have now. And again, this is real money. I truly did invest $10,000 for our retirement, my wife and I. So 562.4 shares roughly multiplied by 19.99. So our $10,000 investment at the very end of 2017 is now worth $11,242 and about 38 cents. So 11,242 point, I think it was 38. Yep, 38. So that is the stock market. And if you get in at the right time, you can make a lot of money. When I first got in, I got in right before the 2008 crash. So I lost a lot of money early on, but it has rebounded since. But at the low point, I was able to get some of these shares for a little over $7. So let's say that I bought $100 worth at about $7 a share. So I spent $100. I said, give me some shares. They said, okay, it's $7 each. So you will have 14.3 shares roughly. So if a new scenario here. I don't remember how much I bought at that price. Oops. It's about $7 roughly, a little bit more than $7. And that would be 14.3 shares then. 14.3 shares. Okay, at today's price of $19.99, so that's almost 3 times the value, I should have about $300 then. So let's see this multiplied by 19.99. Yeah, close to $300. And this is the power of the stock market. And this was happening at a sensational rate, which led people to believe I need to get involved in the stock market now, that there's money that I'm missing out, and that greed caused people to do stupid things. We will pause there for now.